and welcome to China for round 6 of the IFSC Speed World Cups for 2016. I'm Charlie Bosco. I have Thomas Lack alongside me today, and we're coming to you from Wujiang. One of 5 urban districts in Suzhou in the Jiangsu province of China, Wujiang lies a couple of hours drive west of Shanghai. Home to 1.5 million people, it is one of China's most prosperous cities and is a major centre for electronic and computer manufacturing, but much of the city retains a distinctly traditional feel, meaning that it is a melting pot of industry and culture. And unfortunately, it's also a melting pot of weather. We've had dry, albeit quite humid conditions, but the heavens have opened today. It's not raining hard, but it is raining. The good news is that the wall's dry, the warm-up area is dry, so the athletes should still be able to perform just fine, but you'll see on our cameras when we pan away that we do have a bit of bad weather. And let's have a look. There we can see it, the venue here in Wujiang is perched on the edge of this huge lake. We'll just have a quick pan around. Thomas. There we see the wall. So the wall is dry, the holds are dry. It shouldn't affect anything in the competition. You can see on the left-hand side of the wall above the sign A where the wall changes colour. That is light grey paint and dark grey paint. That's not wet wall and dry wall. And Thomas, your sister is competing today, Nina Lack. Just tell us how her season's going and how preparations have gone for today.
Yeah, good afternoon to you. The season is pretty long now, and we started in March with some Austrian qualification rounds for the World Cup, and then she was heading to China in April for the 2 World Cups, followed by the World Cups in France and Swiss. Then there was ACO, the World Champs, and of course the World Cup final now here in China in Wujiang, and on Saturday in Xiamen. So it's been a long season for her.
It has been a long season, but before we came on air, we were chatting about why it could be a good couple of years for Austrian speed climbing coming up, because there's a new facility being built as part of the new climbing wall in Innsbruck. I know you don't live in Innsbruck. We'll just have a quick look at the start list before I resume. You see there, that's the men's list at the top of the list there. Reza Ali Poshena, second, of course, in Paris. The gold winner, the man to beat, Marcin Zienski. He's midway down. World record holder Daniel Boldyrev also there. The big names, Stanislav Kokorin, Bassam Awem, Leonardo Jontero. They're all here. No Libor Harosa this time though. And in the women's, there we see Nina Lack. She will be in race number 5 against Alexandra Rudzinska. Yulia Kaplina, Claudia Bukchek, Annick Jobert, the woman who's won 3 World Cups in a row. Didn't quite manage to win the World Championships, but she can make it 4 World Cups in a row today, were she to win. So sorry, Thomas, I interrupted you there. I was just asking about the new facility in Innsbruck. I know you're not from Innsbruck, but there's going to be a new facility built, and we are expecting the Austrian speed climbing team to improve in the next few years.
Yeah, and there are a lot of changes in Austria. The last couple of years, there were more speed walls built in Austria. We have 2 now in eastern Austria with Mitterdorf and Gaflenz, and now there will be in Innsbruck 2 walls, 1 indoor and 1 outdoor in the new Kletterzentrum Innsbruck. And with the Olympics coming up, where all 3 disciplines will be a part of, we're looking forward to having a bigger speed team in the future.
And what is your role within Team Austria these days? I mean, you've competed, but you're also a coach. Just tell us what your role is.
I'm here. I have been here last week for the University World Championships in Shanghai, where I competed with my sister and Max Rudiger, and now I'm here as a coach for my sister for the Speed World Cup. And Max and I also competed in the Lead Masters, and tomorrow they're heading to Xiamen, where they meet up with the other Austrians, and I go home to do some other works for university.
Just to let you know, there has been a very slight delay, but I think we can get underway. And there we go, Yulia Kaplina on the left there, the familiar figure. And Juma Pubu of China on the right, likely to get a big cheer. You'd have to say Kaplina would be a very strong favourite in this one.
Yeah, and both girls also competed last week. in Shanghai.
Yep, Yulia Kaplina, of course, the fastest time yesterday in the qualifiers, 8.09. I'll ask you about what the conditions will do in just a second. We can see particularly Pubu just having to chalk the boots. The one area that hasn't been kept completely dry is the floor underneath the wall. I think the judges are going to be working to try and keep that area dry. For now, it's Kaplina on the left, Pubu on the right. It's a good start from Pubu. Kaplina was the favourite, but she's already reined in the advantage and opening up a bit more of an advantage and cruising home. It's a bit of a sluggish start. 10.45 for the Chinese athlete, 8.89 for Kaplina.
Yulia didn't want to risk anything in this run, so
yeah, she didn't look as if she was going at full speed for long.
yeah.
And as far as the conditions go, I mean, you can see here it's very wet, a lot of moisture in the air as well. Even when it wasn't raining, the air was damp. How will that affect the times and the techniques? I mean, I guess the times will be slow, but what are you expecting to see in these conditions?
The conditions, they make a lot of things worse when you climb, especially when you see the girls coming out. The shoes are wet, so you're more likely to slip on the footholds, especially on the first ones where you have to get the speed. And also there are a few moves where they have to step on the wall and might slip there too.
So here's Andre on the left, Motovilova on the right, and it's a good start from Andre, but Motovilova quickly reined her in. This is going to be quite tight. They seem to have swapped the lead a couple of times already, but I think it's Motovilova who's going to take it. It is 9.12 to 9.71. And when we have humid conditions like this, and you were just talking about how it can make the start difficult, what in speed climbing, I mean, you coach speed climbing, how much is momentum a part of it? Once you start and you're underway, how much of a role does momentum play?
When you get a good start or catch a good start, it's quite a lot. I mean, when you slip on the first two holds, you know the other one is ahead and you have to catch up and you won't make it anymore. But especially in the finals of the best 16, it's that you still keep up and have a good time, because you know when other girls make a mistake, you could also be better because of the better time.
So here's Bukchek against Dean Yu of China. Again, Bukchek you'd expect to be a strong favourite here. Poland, a real speed climbing powerhouse, but Dean Yu is holding her own so far. I think Bukchek's going to take it, but it's closer than you might have thought. Yeah, 9.39. Still under 10 seconds for Dean Yu, though. Not a pretty respectable time, particularly in these conditions.
And also both girls were competing last week in all three disciplines too. And so it's been a long week. And it was a close race because Niu was keeping up until the last holds.
Yeah, that's something we're going to see more and more as the Olympics looms. Amazing to think it's only 4 years away. We are going to see climbers experimenting and increasingly competing at a good level in all three disciplines. So this is a tight race for this early on in the competition. We've got Tsiganova on the right, of course the world champion, she won in Paris. Anna Brozek, Poland, on the left. Tsiganova beat Anouk Jobert. Jobert has looked unbeatable up until then. And we can see just to the right of your picture, Nina Lack just getting ready in the doorway. How do you feel watching your sister? Nervous, or are you okay?
I'm always nervous when I'm watching her, and I'm never nervous when I climb on my own. So it's a little bit wrecking, yeah.
We can see there both Brozek and Tsiganova trying to dry their feet. You can see the rain behind them. It's certainly not ideal conditions. Rozak on the left. She gets a good start, but the world champion Siganova is staying with her. This is going to be really tight. I think Siganova was just beginning to open up a bit of a lead. I don't know if Rozak even knows she needs to rush. Yeah, big slip from Siganova there. I was about to ask you that because obviously you've got the wet shoes from the ground, but when the air is humid like this, obviously we know how it affects bouldering and lead. How does it affect speed climbing?
It almost affects it the same way, because from round to round, there's a lot of chalk on the hold, and the humidity effect, also the grip of the hold.
Okay, you don't need to speak for a couple of minutes, you just watch. So we watch Nina Lach against Alexandra Rudzinska. Poland. Already 3 Polish athletes out. They are very strong in this discipline. We've got one more to come, of course, Edyta Ropek, the veteran Polish climber. That's a false start from Nina Lach. Remember, of course, you are allowed one false start, but only throughout the competition. So if you had one in qualifying, that counts as your first start, as your false start, excuse me. But Nina luckily hasn't had one in any qualifying rounds, so that is her one false start used up. She's on the right, Rudzinska's on the left. It's a good start from Rudzinska. Nina perhaps slightly slow, wary of another false start. Rudzinska opening up a bit more of a lead the higher she goes. I think she just needs to bring this home. There she does, 9.23. There's a bit of a head shake from Thomas there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I could see that she wasn't comfortable at the start, because the first foothold probably might slip a little bit. And yeah, she had a slip on the last 2 moves. It's not a good time for her, but
as you said earlier, though, the end of a long season.
It's a long season. Yeah, she had a few problems with her right hand, but it's okay.
So Aurelia Sarrasin of France out, along with Elma Fleuret. An all French affair. Saracen qualified in 8.99 and 9.18 for Fleuret. Quick start from both climbers there, and tight at this early stage. I think Fleuret has a slight lead, but Saracen's already taken it back. This will be the closest race yet. Saracen takes it by 13/100ths of a second. And we just saw, I'm sorry to remind you, let's just have a quick look at this. This is by far our closest finish yet. There we go, 13/100ths of a second. I'll ask you in a second, because on the stage now we have Anouk Jobert. She's going for an unprecedented 4th Speed World Cup win in a row. Same as Martin Zienski. Remember, of course, Zienski also claimed the World Championships in Paris a month or so ago. Doesn't that already feel a long time ago? Anouk Jobert, so she'll be a heavy favourite against Kriolin He of China. He, of course, will have the local support though. Here they go. Quick start from Jobert. You wouldn't expect she'll need to go at full speed, and she isn't. This is a relatively slow run for Jobert. Long pause there. Yep. 8.89. Still pretty fast time, but she can go much faster than that. Qualified faster than that, in fact. 8:55.12 from He of China. Yeah, I was about to ask you about the false start. When you're coaching speed, how do you get that balance right between a quick start but a legal start?
You try to train it, especially at the beginning of the season, or when then you do your physical training, and then you try to train it just before the comps. but this time when you don't have, if you don't have a false start in finals, and especially like it was with Nina now, when she knew Orla is much faster climber, she has to try to get a few a few hundredths of a second at the start, and maybe she's trying too much, and now risk a false start.
And we've just saw the end there. Dita Ropek, I think I heard, even from our commentary position, 50 metres from the wall, a big scream from Adita. I don't think she's happy with that. She's not quite looked herself. I was watching her climb yesterday in the qualifiers, and yeah, you can see there it's the right foot that just slipped, and then that was followed by a slip on the left. Not happy with herself. And when you say that you train the start, is that just how do you go about training that reaction time to the beep? What can you do to improve that?
You try to vary the starting signal. You go into the starting position, then wait and wait and wait, and then give the starting signal, or just go into the position and start. It's important to have a lot of variety in time, like it is on the competitions.
So that you don't anticipate it. You're just waiting.
You wait and you try to hear, but sometimes it's a feeling.
Yeah.
When you have it.
I know certainly in car racing that when they talk about the lights, they always say, "Look, don't stare. Don't stare at the light." I suppose it's even harder when it's when you have to listen for it. See here on the left, Reza Ali Porshena. Ali Porshena Zandifar, to give him his full title, but it'll be Ali Porshena from here on. We only have around 7 seconds. We can't use too much of it against Rafael Halassa. The strong Polish climber. You'd have thought Reza would be favourite here, of course, second in the World Championships, already won a World Cup this year, incredibly explosive. And let's see, because he employed a new technique for the qualifiers. Let's see what he does this time. And it's a typically quick start, and he does his new technique. Hopefully we'll see a replay. The rope barely keeping up with him. 6.29, quick time at this stage. 7.26 from Rafael. So yeah, Thomas, let's have another look at this start. Talk us through this new technique from Reza.
Yeah, he's in the same starting position as everybody. He goes to the third hold and now skips the fourth and goes straight up to the fifth. That's nobody has ever done before. So
let's have another look at it. Yeah, hopefully we can get that replay back. But that was a perfect example of what you're talking about. So this was something you picked up in qualifying. He definitely didn't do this in Paris, I remember, but we can see it again. So watch here, he goes up both hands, go back down, So he goes up with both hands. Now he doesn't use the hold on the left, straight through. Have you seen that done before?
I haven't seen that before, because all the previous strong guys like Daniel or all the Russians who are tall, they're just doing the normal, so to speak, technique.
It was interesting then when we saw Reza, because when he had his hands on the fifth hold, his feet were on the hold he just left. So that's how explosive it is. That's how big the move is. It's pretty much his body length.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely didn't do that in Paris. That is a new technique from Reza. His fellow countryman, Hamid Reza Tuzandhijani, will be out next. He's racing Vladislav Dulin of Russia. Just disappearing back in. Not entirely sure what the reason is. Of course, he just disappeared in. There'll be a short delay. I will let you know why in just a second. Yeah, I've just spoken to our technical delegate, Graham Alderson, who you might remember from the World Championships in Paris. We chatted to Graham a couple of times on our live stream, and he was saying that the Polish climber Rafał Halasa, he is complaining that during that race with Reza Ali Poshena, there was a slack rope that some way impeded his movement. So the technical team will take a look at the replays. I mean, it looked to me as if Reza also had quite a lot of slack rope, but we shall see. Certainly didn't impede his movement. 6.29, not his fastest by any means.
No, Reza has his rope behind his arms, so if there's a slack, he won't notice it. But we have seen yesterday a lot of guys that were struggling with the rope because now we're coming back from Chamonix and from Villar and from the World Champs. We had the automatic belay device, and now we're coming back to the old belaying, so to speak.
Yeah, we have a two-man belaying team. Obviously, the climbers are so fast, one person can't take in fast enough, so one person takes in the slat rope, the second person pulls it through the gree-gree. As of next year, it will be auto belays throughout. All auto belays at every competition from next year onwards. I'm not sure what the system is for sheer men, but this is certainly one of the last competitions where we'll have traditional ropes. There's our venue here in Wujiang. Unfortunately, the weather putting off some of the spectators. There was a much bigger crowd for the qualifiers yesterday. And we're just, it's quite interesting actually, the judges are just reviewing our footage. And in the meantime, I wanted to ask you actually, we only touched on it briefly then, but we were talking about training the start for speed climbing, but for training speed climbing in general, what do the climbers do? Is it lifting weights, cardio? Is it just practice on the wall? Is it traditional climbing training? What do the athletes do to improve their times?
It's a variety of a lot of things. Especially at the beginning of the year, they do a lot of training with weights. Then they're starting to do a lot of track and field stuff, a lot of exercising, like they do in like sprinting.
So when you say we can just have a look at the replay. I didn't see anything, but we shall see. Sorry, go on. When you say track and field, what do you mean with sprinting on a track or Olympic lifts?
Yeah, it's sprinting on a track. It's about shorter distances because they don't need to do the 100 meters or 200 or 400 meters. But it's a lot of training also on the field. Yeah. Because the movement is quite similar. There are similar parts of the movement you can also use in speed climbing.
So next out we've got Vladislav Dolin, Russia. He'll be against Hamidreza Tuzandejani, Iran against Russia. We'll find out the results of that appeal for you very shortly. In the meantime, Dylan on the left gets a good start, but Hamidreza was just beginning to cut that lead, but a slip midway and another one there ends his attempt. 6.68 from Dylan. And earlier on when we were talking about Reza, we mentioned the fact that he has the rope behind him. The climbers seem to put it in different locations. What's the reason for that, and what are the benefits of each position?
Well, if you have the rope behind your back, it can affect your arm movement. You can grab into the rope, so it might affect any of your movements. But when you have it in front, it's like more a feeling of safety. It's just more for the mental aspect. But it's like you want it to do.
So we're going to lose a strong competitor early on here. Bassam Awam on the left, Leonardo Jontero on the right, but Bassa who gets a stronger start, and if anything, he's increasing his lead. Very smooth run from Bassa. Very smooth, impressive performance from Bassa there. No slip, very clean throughout. We've already mentioned it, not ideal conditions. For those of you who are tuning in who might be new to speed climbing, it is a flat-out race. You race in the person next to you. In the qualifying round, slightly different, but from here on in, you race the person next to you, so it doesn't come down to time. We don't have the fastest 8 go through. We have the winners of the 8 races that we have. So Bassa Mawem there will progress. Leonardo Jontero has to wait till Xiamen. Stanislav Kokorin's out next. There he is on the left. He'll be racing the Ludovico for Sali. Sali 6.82 in qualifying. And he gets a good start this time, but Kokorin quickly ate up the ground, and if anything is increasing his lead. There it is, 6.5 flat and 7 flat. And Ludovico for Sali, I think we could see another appeal here, judging by his hand movements. Not happy with the belaying. Maybe
there
not.
There might be another appeal, yeah, because there was a lot of slack at the top of the last moves.
Yeah, I think we are going to see the judging team back in our studio, look at the replays. In the meantime, there's Marcin Zienski, strong favourite. What I find really interesting about speed climbing is that the climbers come in all shapes and sizes. You've got our final in Paris was Razor and Marcin. They're both quite solid, they're heavy guys, but they're small, they're short. And then you've got people like Libor Harosa, we've got the world record, Daniel Boldyrev, Bassa Mawem, we saw him a couple of rounds ago. What do you think is the ideal size for speed climbing, or is there one?
Last year we all thought when Bassa was coming through and Daniel made the world record in Gijon, and there was also Evgeny Vachikovsky from Russia, that all the speed climbers might be taller in the future. But now with this season where Marcin won almost every event, there might be no ideal speed climber. They're so different when you see the taller guys and the smaller guys. They're just doing different techniques.
You see there the women's results, 8 climbers through so far. So you can see one of the judging team there down and right, just discussing with the belayers, perhaps giving them a few belaying tips, because it's now the second time that belaying team has caused a few issues for a climber. It was judged on the first occasion that he wasn't impeded, Rafael. We shall see on this one. Yeah, it's certainly an interest. No, it's obviously been judged that Ludovico was not impeded. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting point, the different shapes and sizes of speed climbers. I suppose it's like climbing in general. Sometimes it's useful to be tall, and sometimes it's useful to be small, but it's interesting on a set course like this, where the route is the same every time, that there isn't one shape or size that is dominant. So, here's the man himself, Marcin Zienski, winner of 3 World Cups in a row and the World Championships. Not a bad summer, Zienski household. That's against Hao Ran from China. He flies out the blocks. I don't think we'll see him at full speed. No, not even too close to full speed. 6.40. 7.3 sticks, still a reasonably quick time from Hao Ran. It was still a pretty clean run, but Zienski, without pushing himself too hard, progresses. do you think that Marcin is doing differently this year that's made him suddenly emerge as he has to be so dominant?
Marcin this year he has really high frequency compared to the other smaller guys.
When you say frequency for non-speed climbers, you just mean literally the speed of the moves?
The speed of the moves, yeah, speed of the moves, and also the coordination between his upper body and his lower body, between his arms and his legs. It's on a pretty high level.
So up next we've got Guillaume Moreau of France. You see him there on the left. Ziyong Wu of China on the right. Chalk at the feet, trying to get rid of the moisture. It's still raining here in Wujiang. Unfortunately, conditions not ideal. Quick start from Wu, but you'd have thought Moreau will take this. There we go, opens up a lead. Wu is already off. I'm not sure that Guillaume Moreau spotted that his opponent was off the wall. He carried on at full speed. 6.88. Beyond just slowing down and making the movements more precise, is there anything that the climbers can do to deal with these conditions to try and avoid a slip?
They probably can't do anything about the conditions. When you have these conditions, like in Chamonix this year, where it was raining quite a lot, you just have to focus, and you just have to be in a mental state that you don't think that it will affect your climbing. You have to say, okay, it is like this, and everybody has to deal with the conditions. But it's not always that easy.
One man who's dealing with the conditions very well, Xu Xinxiong, China. Massively successful in the past and looking back on form, 6.45, no problem for him. We met up with him in Chongqing. He wasn't competing, of course, but looks a lot lighter now. He looks very lean, looks in really good shape. I think looks in even better shape than in Paris. Hard to say, but he's certainly looking quick. It's good to have him back on the scene. So there, close to the camera, Daniel Bouldering, Ukraine, world record holder. Just to let you know, this wall that we have here in Wujiang is not certified for a world record, so even if we see a time faster than 5.60, it will not be a new world record. I suspect we wouldn't have seen a world record anyway, given the conditions, but you never know. There's Jan Kriz on the right. Relatively sluggish start from both, but it's Bouldering who's got a bit of a lead, and I think he's going to hold on to it. He is 6.38, 6.73, fast around that one. And Kriz doesn't look too happy with his attempt. Might see a replay. The world record holder is through. He'll face Xinjin next round. Yeah, we saw there, we were talking about body shapes earlier, two much taller climbers, both over 6 foot. I don't know what that is in metric. In old money, both over 6 foot. We see there again the women's results. We'll run you down who will be in a second. And this is a rerun of Stanislav Kokora against Ludovico Fassali. Normally the judges are very good at letting us know if this appeal has been successful. They didn't on this occasion. The appeal obviously was successful. So Kokora not through, he has to do it all over again. And it's a good start from Kokora. Remember, he already won this one once, and it was appealed from Fassali, which meant it had to be a rerun, but it's a slip this time, which means the result remains unchanged.
It's a slip, and he was close on a false start.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the start again. It certainly was close, but it was, by the time they were halfway up, it was all over. So yeah, that was a successful appeal from Ludovic Official. Let's have a look here. Right. So there was two small twitches before he left. Let's have another look at the slip. I think it was coming up. There it is, it's the right foot, yeah. So Kokorin had to do it twice, but the same result. So we're down to the last 8 in the women. We see there Yulia Kaplina, she's through and she's taking on Svetlana Motovilova. All Russian affair. Kaplina, of course, in very good form coming into this event. Had a relatively easy start against Suomi Pubu of China in the previous round. This will be a tougher challenge. Only needed an 8.89 in the previous round. I think she'll need to go faster than that this time. She certainly started well. She's climbing steadily rather than going for time here. Kaplina just doing enough. There we have it. It is faster. 8.24. Yeah, as we saw in the previous round, Yulia not quite easing off, but certainly not going at full pace, just nice and controlled. As you see her heading towards the final moves. Nice and precise with that last right foot. Conditions not great, and she dealt with it really well. So Kaplina safely through. Bouldering just signalling to the belays. She doesn't want any slack. She's taking on Anna Brozek. All Poland this time. Not all Russia, now all Poland. Bouldering on the left, Brozek on the right. It's a quick start from Brozek. And this is tight, this is very tight. I think Bouldering has a small lead, but can she hang on to it? She can. Brozek just lost momentum in the top third of the wall. Were you able to see exactly what happened? It looked a few moves short at the top.
Brozek slipped it, yeah.
Let's have a look.
Now we see it.
Ah, there's a slip with the right foot, yes.
Slipped and missed the hold a little bit. Then the weight was through for him.
Tight up until then. Once again, another Polish athlete, Alexandra Rozinska, taking on Aurelia Saracen of France. Rozinska 9.23, didn't need to rush in the previous round. Quick start from both, but it's Rozinska who's opened up an early lead. And she's hanging on to it. Though Saracen just looking as if she was gaining the middle section, but Rozinska pulled it through in the end. 8.52, 9.64 for Saracen.
Congratulations to Alexandra. 恭喜来自波兰的亚历山大拉。
Final race in this women's round of 8 will be Anouk Jobert. You see her there on the left. She'll be taking on Alla Marenic of Ukraine. Jobert, we see this from her. She closes her eyes, focuses, last few seconds of concentration. Jobert looked as if she just twitched before she set off, but it didn't affect her start too much. She took an early lead and she's only increased it 8:20 to 9:22 from Marenic. Very controlled performance there from Joubert, dealt with the conditions nicely. Let's have another look. The right foot just before the top wasn't perfect, but good enough. Quickly onto the men's round of 8. Speed climbing finals always seem to disappear incredibly quickly. Here's Razor. So we mentioned it earlier on, if you're tuning in midway through, keep an eye out. The previous round and in the qualifiers, he skipped out the 4th hold, as spotted by Thomas Lack, who's alongside me. On the right. B-lane team on the right seem to have got their act together. No issues for a while now. Here's Razor, one final look. Will we see his new no 4th hold technique? We do see it straight through, and it gave him a lead, but he slipped. Can he catch Dylan? This would be extraordinary if he could. It's Dylan who goes through. It's a slip from Razor Ali Porshena. Doesn't look too impressed with that.
But with this mistake, an awesome time. A lot of people would wish to have.
Yeah, very surprising result. Let's have a look if we can see the slip. Razor nearly caught Dylan at the top there. That's how fast he is once he's underway. That was the right foot just on the just slipped off straight backwards.
His foot was just a little bit too low, so he couldn't step up on the hold.
So, Asamoah looked particularly impressive in the previous round. It's not supremely fast, just supremely controlled. Takes on Kokorin, who ran his race twice. Mawem again looking in control. Nice smooth run, 6.22. Kokorin nearly closed that. Either Bassa knew exactly what he needed to do, or he slowed down a bit too early. Because he certainly had a healthy lead, 2/3 of the way through, and that's what 7/100ths of a second looks like. So here's Marcin Zienski, Team Poland winner, 3 World Cups in a row and the World Championships. Can he make it 4 World Cup wins in a row? Bear in mind, of course, we have another World Cup 4 or 5 days' time in Xiamen, down the coast from here. Let's not get carried away. One race at a time. Before he thinks about winning more World Cups, he's got to beat Guillaume Moreau. That was a bit of a strange incident. It looked like Zienski twitched. He moved, and then Moreau moved almost as a reaction to it. Let's have another look. We see that. Just a shift of the hips from Zienski.
That's one of the disadvantages when you're the lower scored one. You have to start on the right side, and if the other person twists, you might get a false start.
Is the key during the start then just to concentrate on your holds? I suppose you can always see them, can't you, if you're looking left?
Yes, you should focus on your own holds, but you always see the other person.
6.23 from Zienski. Looks pretty happy with that. Moreau, I think, put off by the false start. He slipped very early on and never really found his rhythm. So Zienski safely through.
男子速度4强将会在中国队钟其清和乌克兰的选手丹尼尔进行产生。
So this is a clash of the titans. Xixin Zhong of China and Daniel Boldyrev, the current world record holder of Ukraine. So we'll be losing a big name.
Both world champions.
Yes. One of them won't make it through to this last round of 8 here in Wujiang now. Of course, Xixin, he's missed much of this season. We saw him come back in Paris, but as I said earlier, looks in superb shape right now. I watched him warming up. Looks fit, in good form. Certainly climbed well in the previous round in the qualifiers. And he gets a better start and opens up a lead, and Boldyrev slips almost immediately. Xixin, I wonder if he knew he didn't need to do too much. 6.74, I think he probably realised midway up the wall he was on his own. He progresses. Daniel has to slip almost immediately. You wonder if that was related to the wet rock boots. You can see there the ground very wet underneath the wall. Daniel doesn't look too worried, never looks too stressed. Let's have another look. Quite an unusual mistake there from Daniel.
好了，为大家梳理一下男子4强，俄罗斯、法国、波兰以及中国4个国家分享了4个席位。那么最终呢？
So I believe that before we proceed, we'll have a presentation of the final 4 in both the men's and women's competitions.
来到中国江苏国际攀岩世界杯攀岩赛的比赛现场。
So the final 4 women will be Yulia Kaplina, Claudia Bukchek, Alexandra Rudzinska and Anouk Jobert of France. And they're going to be presented to the crowd here in Wujiang. Skipped ahead through the previous rounds. I can tell you as well that the men's final 4 will be Vladislav Dillon, Basamawa Masitiensky and Xixin Xiong of China. You see Kaplina Bukchek, Rudzinska and Jobert, the final 4 here at Wujiang. Austrian athlete and coach Thomas Lack is alongside me. Watched the final so far where precision has been rewarded. Conditions far from ideal here in Wujiang. It was very humid yesterday, dry today. It's still humid and raining. You have to add to the problem. So conditions particularly poor. And had a few surprise results, such as Razor Ali Poshena slipping. Really is a case of who deals with it better. So there's our 8 final athletes. Anouk Jobert looking like she'd rather still be backstage preparing. We can see there Marcin Zienski is still thinking about what he's going to do next, not really concentrating on this ceremony. Particularly relaxed character, Marcin. There we see a section of our crowd enjoying seeing this. I can tell you that 8 Chinese ladies dressed very like air stewardesses have just walked past our commentary area. So I suspect they'll be involved in the presentation. We'll see. Either that or they're just out for a walk. So luckily we're in the cover, but it must still be raining reasonably hard. The umbrella's still out, conditions not improving. Certainly far from ideal. Fresh towels coming out. I did notice Razor Ali Porshena had a pair of slippers. It's a good idea. I recognise them from the hotel. But the climbers so far struggling to keep their feet dry, and it has caused problems already. So going into this round of 4, what mental preparation can you do at this stage? Is the mental preparation done before you get here, or do you try and give your athletes a routine that they go for before every single race?
Every new round is a new experience for the athletes. Like this year for Nina, it was in Chamonix when she was the first time in the round of the final 8. She told me that it was a whole new experience. It's a whole new. You know, it's just even a smaller group of guys coming through, and now it really counts. And you even can be fifth if you still lose but have a good time. And you try to keep that mental state for the whole competition. Qualification, it's a little bit more relaxed because if you don't have a good first round, you can come back to your coach, to your friends, talk about what didn't happen. But in finals, you just come out. If you pass through the round, you go back, and so on.
So here we go, Yulia Kaplina, Claudia Bukchek on the right. Yeah, we hear a lot in sport, we hear about process, focus on the process. Is that true for speed climbing?
It is true for speed climbing, yeah. It's especially when it comes to the conditions, like we were talking before, it's different from place to place. Like last week in Shanghai, there was almost no structure on the wall.
Just watch this race and then we'll resume. Yulia Kaplina, as she has in previous rounds, you get the impression not going quite full speed, just doing enough, and she does enough again. 7.99, Claudia Bukchek 8.55. So go ahead.
And a great time with these conditions. Yeah, and the wall is different from place to place, and it's also for speed climbing. It's when you hear speed climbing and it's a homologated wall and it's always the same, but it's not always the same, and that's a lot of experience you have to make during the years.
So here's Alexandra Rudzinska of Poland, and on the right, Annick Jobert. This is for a place in the big final. Remember, in speed climbing, if you are new to the sport, we have the big final, which decides the gold and silver medals, and then we have what we call the small final, which decides who gets a bronze medal. That is a third, fourth playoff. So this for a place in the big final. Jobert with a good start, but Rudzinska holding on so far. Small slip from Jobert, but didn't hold her back too much. She'll take this in 8.05. Not the fastest time, and it wasn't the cleanest run, but it's enough. Let's have another look. There was a small slip from Jobert. Can we see it? Must have been slightly low down. Again, her right foot at the end, not perfect, but good enough. She has the opportunity to make it 4 World Cup wins in a row. We are in uncharted territory.
真的是这个一口气都歇不到吧？我们看到马上就要进行的是男子4强之间的比拼，是040号。
So close to the camera here, we've got Vladislav Dolin of Russia. He knocked out Reza Ali Porshena, remember, in the previous round. Perhaps a bit of a surprise result, but he's been going well recently, Dolin. I suspect he will need to go even better if he wants to beat this man. Bassam Mawem's really in control the 2 races we've seen him in so far. Already beaten Leonardo Montero and Stanislav Kokorin. So we've got Dolin on the left, Mawem on the right. Good start from Dillon and a slip from Mawem. If he wants to win this, he's going to need to be very quick. He is not. Misses out by 23 hundredths of a second. Yeah, there was me saying that Bass has dealt really well with the conditions. He's been very precise. Not this time. It wasn't a great start either from Basser. So it's Dillon who progressives. Guaranteed already a second place. So there is Song and Zienski. Zienski on the left, of course. Zienski currently ruling the speed climbing world. Zin used to rule it. Can he get back? Pass in there, just didn't look quite comfortable as he got set with the rope. Look, I was about to say it looked like a false start from Shinjin. Song, false start. Hasn't had one until now in the competition though, so he's on his last chance, but he does have another chance. Made to wait slightly after a false start. That's not easy to refocus. Zienski going for another win in 2016, and he's cleanly away, but he slipped very early on. Can he rein in Zong? I don't think he can. He can't. 6.66, the number of the beast for Zienski. 6.41 for Zong. Zienski flew up the first move, but slipped almost immediately. Just couldn't catch Song. So he will not make it 4 World Cup wins in a row. I suspect 3 World Cup wins and a World Championship is some consolation. Just to confirm for you, the small final in the men's competition, it will be Basser Mawem against Marcin Zienski. Shizin Zhong will take on Vladislav Dillon and Russia in the big final. See it there, small final. The small final is Bukchek Rudzinska, of course the big final is Kaplina against Jobert. So Rudzinska's on the right, check on the left. Rudzinska got a marginally better start, but they're pretty even so far. I think Bukchek maybe have a slight lead. This is going to be pretty tight for the bronze medal. It is tight, and it's Rudzinska who takes it by 2/100ths of a second. Alexandra Rudzinska waves to the crowd. She's 3rd place here in Wujiang. Both still smiling. There we go. Maybe Bukchek doesn't look too disappointed with that. Rudzinska looks delighted and tired. So here we go for the big final. Yulia Kaplina, Anouk Jobert. Of course, Jobert in the lead in the overall standings for 2016, but Yulia Kaplina not too far behind. Kaplina left, there we go, and Anouk Joubert France on the right. Bit of a twitch there from Kaplina, and it seemed to throw her off. Didn't throw Joubert off though. She's going to bring this home. I think this is going to be 4 World Cup wins in a row. 8-11, a slip of her own. Extraordinary final. Would be good to see a replay of that because Kaplina had a really poor start. She twitched just before she set off, and Joubert had a big lead, but only just held on to it in the end. She looks relieved. You can see why. When you're leading in a speed climbing competition, is it often hard to keep your concentration when you know that all you need to do is climb at a reasonable pace?
It is hard, especially when the times are equal between the athletes, and you can see it like the other one on the other side. It's hard to keep focused on your next holds and on the last holds and don't make any mistakes.
It was well done. Sorry, go ahead. It was well done from Joubert there, because you saw on that replay, she watched Kaplina twitch and didn't react to it, which must be incredibly difficult to do. But Kaplina, she twitched and her leg never quite returned to the original position. Slightly compromised start, and she was slow out of the block. She'll take second.
Yeah, she twitched, wanted to go back. When she wanted to go back, the starting signal came.
Yeah, she didn't quite go all the way back. So this is the men's small final. This is for the bronze medal. Marcin Zienski, not used to winning bronze medals this year. Can he claim one here in Wujiang, or will Basser Mawem do it? Basser, I think, feels he was impeded by the rope there. I don't think that was Basser throwing in the towel. I think that was Basser saying there was a problem with the rope. I'm not sure Marcin has quite realised. We shall see. I'm pretty sure Basser flagged something there. Let's have a look. So it's a pretty good start from both.
Yeah, he grabbed into the rope.
Basser actually, yeah, there we see it. Great camera work. So it's not an appeal, it was a mistake. In Basser, you can see he just stopped, just slipped. Good slow motion replay there, put his right hand over the rope. Sometimes belays get a hard time, but the rope of course has to go somewhere. Unfortunately, it was under the right hand of Basser Mawem on that occasion. So, big final. Vladislav Dulin against Xixin Song of China on the right. He'll be the crowd favourite. But it's Dulin who I think is going to take this. He doesn't. He slips. Dulin had that. Xixin Song absolutely delighted in front of a home crowd. That was, if you're wondering what that big beat was, that was from the TV truck right next to ours. Very professional. Fired their horn. Well, Dulin, God, he had that right within his grasp. It goes to show it's not over until it's over. He had a pretty decent lead. Xixin Song, we haven't seen much of him this season. Paris, of course, his first appearance of 2016, but he's back, and how? A win here in Wujiang. I don't think he could quite believe it himself. I think he looked over and realised that Dulin had slipped. Knew he'd done it. There we see the moment he realised. So there we have it, the first competition since the World Championships in Paris. The IFSC is back, and we have a new winner for 2016. Not a new winner in Speed World Cups, that's for sure, in Xixin Song. Anouk Joubert makes it 4 World Cup wins from the last 4. there. Let's see where Dylan slipped. It was actually going for the timing pad with the left foot. Have another look. It's not done until it's done.
He was ahead until the last hold and then slipped.
That's got to be massively frustrating, and the red carpet is out. We'll have our medal ceremony. And you can see there that yellow arm, that is the arm of the truck that just beeps, so thank you very much for that, Mr. Truck Driver. Fairly precarious position, just below where that cameraman is on the yellow truck is a pretty big motorway. It'll be quite an unpleasant place to stand up there. So, Shizin Chong back in the game. Thomas, I'm sure, as I have watched him for a long time, it's great to have him back. As we just confirmed the women's results on the screen, Anouk Gilbert, 4 World Cups from 4. She's now won 2/3 of the World Cups we've had in 2016. Extraordinary performance. You've been watching Shizin for a long time. It's fantastic to have him back at the top of the podium.
Yeah, it's great to have him back. I mean, he's won the World Championships. He's won a lot of World Cups in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He's been there since the beginning of speed climbing, so to speak. And hopefully he will be back next year in the circuit.
We hope so. Confirm it there. Marcin Zienski does not win here. Extraordinary. First time we've said that in a while. In the women's competition, Anouk Gilbert. That's at 4 from 4. And Anouk, she's really emerged this year. It's no secret that the French have a specialist training facility. That is clearly beginning to pay off.
Yeah, the French, they have a huge team in every discipline. We saw it in Paris. They had finalists in each discipline. And also here, I mean, they have 4 girls in the top 16. So we'll see a lot of them in the next years.
Certainly will. So just to confirm, Shizin Xiong, he is back in front of the home crowd. He claims his first World Cup win of 2016. Of course, he had plenty before this year. And Anouk Gilbert makes it 4 from 4. She narrowly missed out to Anna Tsiganova in the Paris World Championships. She's back on the top step of the podium here in Wujiang. And we were talking earlier about the fact that Austria is now developing improved facilities for your team. What will the focus be? I mean, we've got the Olympics 4 years away. It's going to be combined between all 3 disciplines. As a coach, how are you going to introduce your athletes to speed climbing so that you can replicate the success of places like France?
First of all, I think we'll have to see how the format will be, the Olympic format. Now we had the Austrian Championships a few weeks ago, and we already seen that the youth athletes are more into speed climbing now because, of course, they want to go into the Olympics, and they also want to have good results at the Youth Worlds in Chengdu in November.
And you just mentioned about the Olympic format there. Does that mean that you may weight one discipline more than another, or that for people that haven't done much speed, you won't train it as much as you might? What's the thought process?
I think for the guys who are training lead and bouldering more now, they will have to do much more explosive training, much more training on the campus board, and also do a few things from the athletics, so they will have more power in their feet.
And again, we talked about athletics. You're talking about sprints on a track, and we're also talking about a lot more weightlifting. Is that something that will be introduced more and more into climbers' training?
We will see, because if they want to keep up their level in lead and bouldering, they don't have that much time to spend it to spend their time with these things. But I think it will get more. They will have to do it more to be strong in speed.
And just to give people at home an insight into the lifestyle of your average, in inverted commas, professional climber, how much time do most of your athletes have to devote to climbing training?
Per week, it's probably about 30 hours.
So I mean, it's pretty much a full-time job. And how many of your athletes, as a percentage, are full-time athletes, and how many are students or have another job?
The youth athletes, they all go to school, they have to school, then they graduate, and after they graduate, they mostly attend university, so they do it all next to the university.
And as the Olympics is coming, will you try and increase that training volume, or do you feel now you can't really do much more than 30 hours a week?
I think with the Olympics coming, it might get more professional. So a lot of people won't have to study that much, so they can really focus on the sport. They can focus more on regeneration. They can plan better things, because now the training is mostly based on their school times, on their university times, because you can't change that. But with the Olympics coming, I think it will get more professional, and then climbing really comes first.
So, do you think the volume of training might stay the same, but the structure will change?
Yeah, I think the volume you can't do anymore. And with all three disciplines, I mean, bouldering and speed are high intense disciplines where you can't do that much volume per week. Um, I think it might be the same. It just changes the way you train.
And with climbers now doing all three disciplines, how do you think that will affect the standard in each discipline? Do you think we'll see faster times in speed climbing, harder lead routes, or will the standards slightly decrease, but everyone will be able to do everything?
It depends on the format the IFSC will have in the Olympics, or might get proposed to the IOC. When there are all three disciplines, and with this speed route, I think there might be a little decrease in all to be a good climber in all three disciplines.
And also, I suppose that the body shape of the climbers is going to be an issue. How are you going to manage it so that the climbers, obviously, if you're a really good boulderer now, and then you gain 10 kilos on your legs, you won't be as good a boulderer. How do you manage that? Is diet strictly controlled for climbers now, and will it be in the future?
You have to be careful what you eat. It's in every discipline the same, and it's also in speed. When you're a little lighter, it feels lighter, and you can climb faster. So you just have to be careful when you train your legs that you don't gain weight.
And is there a cafeteria at the facility, or do you just trust the athletes?
Most is trusting the athletes, and everybody knows what to do, and everybody knows that you can eat sweets just before the competition.
What I'm actually really interested. What is the diet of a professional climber and an athlete? High protein? Does it vary from discipline to discipline?
It varies. It depends not only on the discipline and also on the athletes. I mean, if you don't want to eat this or that, then he shouldn't be eating this. So everybody eats what he wants to eat. If he's able to do best in competition.
I mean, you hear contrasting opinions. Some people think that diet is 80% of performance, but then we all know climbers who don't eat very healthily. How much of a role do you think it plays? Is it one area where climbers can really improve?
It really depends on the athlete. I mean, we all know athletes from other sports who eat fast food every week and drink beer a lot and all that stuff. And I think the same goes with climbing. You also have athletes that don't need to train that much, but are really good in competitions. And then you have athletes who train really hard and a lot of volume, and might be worse in competitions than the other athletes. And the same goes with diet. Some people can eat whatever they want, and some people really have to be careful.
And is that hard for you to manage as a coach if you go for a couple of weeks at a few competitions and one of your climbers doesn't train very much, they eat what they want, and then the other climber has to train really hard and be really strict with the diet? Is that quite hard to manage as a coach?
It's quite hard when you travel a lot, especially now in China. It's especially 2 weeks in China, or we have been the whole last week in China, where you really don't know what you get to eat, and also be careful what you eat because of the doping agencies. You need a plan before you travel to the places.
So we're staying in a huge hotel here. We're there, the athletes are there, the coaches are there, and obviously the buffet, the food is nice, but some of it's not the most healthy, and you don't really have a choice of of what you eat. You can only eat what's at the buffet. Do you bring a lot of food with you?
Yeah, I mean, especially for China, we brought a lot of food because when you don't know what is there, you have to eat it. You have to eat it to be have a complete meal. And now the food, we brought a lot of food here.
And how do you manage your training when you're away? Because there's no guarantee of what the facilities will be.
Especially with speed climbing, there aren't any facilities like it was last week, where the speed competition was held on Wednesday, and we know that this World Cup was Tuesday and Wednesday. There was a possibility to train there on the speed wall, but we all did the free disciplines in Shanghai, so there wasn't any time for training because we had 4 or 5 days of competitions. But normally you check where you have places to train.
And this is one area I find really interesting, and it's certainly something that people ask me a lot when I see them at competitions. For a speed climber, just give us an idea of how many times they will climb the route in a day, a week, a month.
It depends where you have the access to the speed wall. Especially for us, we have to travel 1 hour one way to the speed wall because there aren't that many in Austria. So Nino trains about 3 days a week. Other people train 4 days or 5 days. It really depends, and it really depends on the calendar. So at the beginning of the season, you're probably only doing 1 time a week or 2 times a week. But when the season is coming closer to the competitions, you train 4 times a week on the speed wall and do less power training, less strength training, less weight training.
And how many laps, if you like, will they do in an average training session?
It depends when you focus on technique or on volume. But normally you do about 10 to 20 runs and then do some special trainings.
Well, just as we wait for our podium ceremony here in Wujiang, we have a profile that we filmed earlier this year in Chongqing with today's winner. She's in Chong.
我是钟其新，我来自中国，是中国攀岩队的一名队员。我是从2005年开始攀岩，是在江西应用技术职业学院一个学校里面开始攀岩的。那个时候我3个项目我都是挺喜欢的，最后我的教练，丁成亮，他让我选择了速度赛。首先，他给我带来了很多快乐，让我认识了很多世界各地的朋友，也让我在中国有了很大的一个名气，让我从一个学生成为了世界冠军，成为了世界上面的一个焦点。去年我也是刚刚结婚，然后今年呢又得到了2个宝贝，然后目前我特别想回到训练当中，我要准备今年的巴黎的世界锦标赛，我还是想继续去参加比赛，去打比赛，因为这是我一直梦寐以求我要去参加的比赛，现在也是积极努力备战吧。谢谢大家观看，欢迎大家关注巴黎世界锦标赛，我在那里等着你，巴黎见。
So there we have it, today's winner, Xixin Song. As he said on the video, he was preparing for the World Championships in Paris. Didn't quite go his way there. He has won World Championships in the past, of course, but it has very much gone his way here in Wujiang on home soil. He wins today, as does Anouk Giobert. She makes it 4 World Cups from 4 and a silver medal in the World Championships to add to it. Not bad for 5 competitions. And we were just talking about Team France there. I think we can see a replay of some of our races. Yeah, Team France really reaping the reward of their new facility. This was Razor, his new technique. There we see skipping out the fourth hold. This was early on. I think this was his first race, it was. No problems. 6.29 on that occasion. Slightly worried seeing our camera mounted up on the wall there. I hope it's as waterproof as the manufacturers tell us. And Razor is another climber who just seems to have come from nowhere. And you've been watching him for years, as have I. What do you think has changed with him? He's suddenly, this year, slightly less year, but he's exploded this year. I mean, his power and everything is extraordinary. And have you asked him what he does? Are you going to try and copy it?
I haven't asked him what he does, but it's like with the other nations. Everybody is trying to change a few things to be even faster, to be even stronger. And we also seen this in the other disciplines, like in lead and in bouldering, where you have from one season to another you have new champs, or you have guys and girls who've really been there for a long time, but then making the big step on the podium because they found the secret, what fits for them, just for them, and then they're stronger.
It's certainly something you see in all sports, including climbing, as you say, climbers who've been semi-finalists, finalists, and then suddenly make that leap to winning. But his rise has been absolutely extraordinary. The same for Anouk Jobert. Is she a climber you know well, and have you trained much with her? Have you seen what she's done to suddenly become a multiple World Cup winner?
I don't see her that much climbing in training, but I've seen her over the years in the youth comps, and she always made finals. And then she was coming into the World Cups, and year by year or competition by competition, she was stronger. And when you find something that fits for you and works in your training, it's good, and that you should keep up.
Her progression has perhaps been slightly more steady. She hasn't just exploded, but this year she's just been absolutely dominant, and you wonder if we're going to see more and more on that from France. I mean, traditionally, especially in the women's speed climb, we have lots of Eastern Europeans, Russians. Do you think France is going to be the dominant nation, or is it just Anouk?
No, it's not just Anouk. It's like all the other girls. They really have a big team, and I also know some girls from the UFB who are coming into the adults category in the next years, and they're doing a great job in their place, and I think they will be very well next, and especially in the next years coming to the Olympics.
Remember, of course, that we are in Guangzhou, right down on the south coast of China, between the 7th and the 13th of November for the World Youth Championships. Thomas Lack, who's alongside me, just mentioned Youth B, one of our categories, so you will be able to see the climbing stars of the future. 7th to the 13th of November. It's around 2 or 3 weeks from now. We'll be on the south coast, just next to Hong Kong. Will you be attending?
I won't be attending.
That's enough for one trip to China.
That's enough for one trip, and I have to finish university.
It's a long time, actually. We talked about the diet and the training and everything. Do you find that when you get your athletes home after a long trip in China or anywhere else away from home, that their performance has dipped? When they get back in training, they're not as strong?
Yeah, when I see Nina coming back from a long trip, often she needs 1 week break, doing some slight weight training, and then get back up the wall.
And what can you do? I mean, is the best thing to come for as little time as possible, or is it better to come, for a bit longer and avoid the jet lag?
It depends. I mean, this year the season is pretty long, and I think that the time between the World Cups is still too short, because like we had it this year, we had to train for the qualifications in March, and then Nina had only to keep up her level. And the same goes with the other girls. I think they just train once a year to get their time, and then keep it up the season, because you can't progress during the season. And Anna Tsuganova, she did really great skipping Ako, preparing for the World Champs, and we all saw what happened in Paris. So she had 2 months of training, After our last comp we attended together, it was in Croatia, the University European Champs, and then she had 2 great months of training, and it paid off in Paris.
Yeah, of course, remember Anna Tsiganova, she beat Annick Jobert, who's won today. She beat Annick Jobert in the World Championships in Paris about a month ago. So yes, training during the season, certainly a very good idea. Skip the Arco World Cup. And so do you find, what would be the ideal spacing of World Cups for you for performance? Or do you just accept that once the season begins, your performance just stays the same?
It doesn't stay the same because you always have to vary training during the season. You can't just do the same like you do in April or May. You can't do the same in September. As it goes for bouldering, I think it's personally I think it's pretty okay when it's compressed to a few months. Lead is also quite the same because we start in July and it goes on to October, November. But with speed, it's at the moment I think it's a little bit too long, starting in April and going on until October.
It has been a very long season, of course, because our first Speed World Cup was Chongqing in the 3rd week of April, I believe, and we're not going to finish until next week, which is the final weekend of October. So do you just try and get as much training in the bank, if you like, sort of November to March, and then you live off that?
Quite the same. When the season is ending in October, November, you probably have a break of 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where some people go climbing a little bit, some people don't do any climbing, and then you start with light training to get back to your level you had to, and then you start training for the new season.
And when you say they have time off, will some climbers literally do no exercise or no climbing training? Or will they go for runs, or is it literally just rest for 2 weeks?
The first week is probably only sleeping because you're so tired of the season. And some people do climbing, some people just don't do anything. Some people do other sports, they go for running, skiing in Austria, and do other things. And really some people don't do anything at all.
And is that something that you decide as a coach, or is that the athlete's decision?
It depends. It's discussion. It's always you have to keep up with the athletes and what does he want to do, what do other athletes want to do. It's like you can't say as a coach you have to do this and this and this. You always have to keep up with the athletes.
And how many athletes realistically can you train and give full attention to?
For me personally, I think it's a number of 4 or 5 athletes you can coach, because then you can keep in touch with them regularly. You can keep in touch what worked out in training, what didn't work out, and if it's more than 5, I think it's for me it's too much.
And as far as coaching goes, just explain what your qualification is as a coach. You're training to be a climbing coach. What does that involve? How do you get started? For people that might be watching this and would like to be a coach, how have you become a climbing coach?
I think coaching it depends on where you live. In Austria we have a very good system where you have to do a few stations in your so to speak train education, which lasts, when you sum up everything, it lasts about 6 years. But the best thing is just starting, help people out. For me, I've been an athlete, or I am an athlete, and now I start. I don't know how long I can attend competitions by my own, so now I try to.
My name is Anna
change
Stör.
more into the thing.
And we just saw a sneak preview. We're about to see the full thing. Speaking of Team Austria and senior coaches, we've got a video profile of Anna Stör.
My name is Anna Stör. I'm from Innsbruck, Austria. I am 28 years old and I'm a climber.
How low were you willing to go before you reach all your selfish goals? Punchline after punchline, bleeding our souls.
was very natural to start climbing. I grew up in Innsbruck, and as you know, it is surrounded by mountains. So my parents are both climbers, and they always took me and my sister on the rocks. So we got introduced at a very young age. And at 8 years old, I joined the kids climbing group. It was coached by Rupi Messner and Reini Scherer, who are both my coaches today. And yeah, it just started to evolve. At the age of 14, I was able to join the Austrian youth climbing team, and I went to the European Youth Cups, and I always enjoyed it. It was only lead comps because at the time there were no Bouldering Youth Cups, and somehow it just all evolved. And yeah, I don't even remember how and why, but I always liked it a lot, and I tried to give my best. I enjoy competing for different reasons. I mean, for one, I think the World Cup circuit has a very strong community, and I've always liked to be surrounded by people who share the same passion, and I think that is a huge advantage. But also, obviously, it's also easy.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Anna. If you would like to see the full version of that profile, you can go onto the IFSC YouTube and you will find it. If you scroll down, it's down there somewhere. It's around May, June time. The reason we've come back is our podium ceremony is underway. Or about to be. Thomas Lack, Team Austria, is alongside me. We watched a superb speed climbing final. There was a long delay before the podium. Hopefully we kept you entertained with profiles of Shixin Xiong and Anna Sturr. As I say, if you watch that full Anna Sturr profile, get to the IFSC YouTube page. Dignitaries being introduced, and Sean McCall. Surely not presenting the medals, well, you never know, we shall see. I suspect here, as part of his role in the Athletes Commission. You can see on the left of your screen there, Marco Scolaris. Chatted to him during the Briançon live stream back in July. And here they come, and I mentioned earlier on that we'd had 8 Chinese ladies dressed as air stewardesses walk past the commentary box. And there they are. This is a podium ceremony from a Masters lead competition that we had here in Wujiang. The lead wall is right next to the speed wall here. This competition took place. It wasn't an official IFSC World Cup, hence the live stream not being available. But we did have many of the top athletes here. Just joining us, this is the podium ceremony for a IFSC Lead Masters competition, not a World Cup, so you haven't missed a lead climbing live stream. €1,000 for third place, 1,500 for second, and a big 2,000 going the way of Mathilde Becerra. When she steps onto the top step of the podium, we can see her there. Certainly could never be accused of a low-key ceremony, the Chinese. We've got flowers, we've got checks, we've got trophies. You name it. As Mathilde Becerra. Not a bad day at the office. Check for €2,000 soon to be making its way to her.
Please welcome President Yuan Ling.
The perennial problem of not having enough hands, but it's a nice problem to have. You've got to check for €2,000. Well done to Matilda Serra, won the IFSC Lead Master event that took place over the past couple of days. The final was this morning. Here's the French national anthem. Yep, our media guys are French, so they were very emotional there, hearing the Marseillaise. Emotions running high here in the media centre. Now, if you haven't checked the results of the Masters event for the men, I won't tell you who won. Keep you guessing. Now we'll have the men's podium for the lead event that took place this morning.
Please welcome the athletes.
'Can you see who won yet between the umbrellas? There we go. Stefano Ghisolfi. We had him in the commentary box in Paris. Won here this morning. Alberto Gotta, third place. €1,000 for his troubles. Dmitry Fakirinov. I've seen him performing well in World Cups recently, had a good World Championship as well. Takes second place here. As I say, there was no live stream to this lead event, so you haven't missed the league competition. This is an IFSC Masters event. These are separate from the World Cups, independent competitions. And Stefano Ghisolfi won. He is just waiting to take his turn on the podium. And looking quite cold as he waits to take that place. There he is. Very low-key. You may remember in the World Championships he initially missed out on the lead final by 1 place. He took 9th and then appealed that decision and made it in joint 8th into the World Championship final. And here's his check. He's probably hoping for cash, but you can't have everything. And without further ado, here's the Italian national anthem. So well done, Stefano, Dimitri, and Alberto. And the dignitaries. I don't think they were 4th and 5th. I think it's just for the photo. There we go.
Thank you. Congratulations to all the members. Now, we're waiting for women's speed competition.
And now we have the podium for the women's speed, I believe. Will be ladies first. We've just had a superb speed final here in Wujiang. It's 6 from 7 now. Alexandra Rudzinska. 3rd place, beat Claudia Bukchuk in the small final. I'm pretty sure she beat Claudia Bukchuk in the small final.
Please welcome Vincent Yuan Yi. Second place goes to Yulia, Russia.
Yulia Kaplina, 2nd place.
Please welcome Mrs. Yuan Yi.
Second place for her, she's having a good season. Not quite as good as the woman on her left though.
Goes to Anouk, France.
There it is, Anouk Jobert, gold, 4th World Cup in a row.
Please welcome Mrs. Yuan Yi.
once again we hear the French national anthem. €3,500 heading Anouk Gilbert's way. Not bad for 7 seconds. These big checks not faring too well in the windy, wet weather we have here. There's Marco Solaris on the right, in the black, president of the IFSC.
Now, going for men's speed competition.
Now this is a great moment for Xijin Seong. As he said in the profile which we showed you earlier, he's had twin babies, come back to competitions. He was really hoping to do well in Paris. Didn't take the gold, but he takes gold here today in front of a home crowd, back on the top step of the podium. Marcin Zienski on the right there. The run had to come to an end at some stage. And I'm pretty sure that's not Basamawem. That is definitely Marcin Zienski. He takes third place, as I say, doesn't make it 5 IFSC competitions in a row. Had to settle for the 3 and the World Championships and a bronze medal today.
Second place goes to
Vladislav, Dolin came so close to being one step further to the left. He slipped on the very last move, lunging for the timing pad, and it cost him second place. I suspect he'll reflect on a pretty good day at the office overall.
Ladies and gentlemen, IFSC Climbing World Cup Wujiang, China 2016 Men's Speed Champion goes to Zhong Qixin, China.
Xijin Seong, he's back on the top step. Wins the World Cup in 2016.
Please welcome Mr. Marco.
How he'd love a second in Xiamen in a few days' time, but for now, he'll enjoy the moment on home soil. Pretty nice feeling. Big congratulations there from Marco Scolaris as he hands over the medal. Gets his flowers and his check. That is one very happy speed climber. Marcin Zienski on the right there, you can see looking slightly disappointed, but as I say, his run had to come to the end, come to an end. Third isn't such a bad result, to be honest. Still strong favourites to win the overall. It's the Chinese national anthem. have it. Xu Xinzhong is back on the top step. Marcin Ziegenski, he looks pretty happy with his bronze medal now. So after a month break following the World Championships in Paris, the IFSC is back in action. Xu Xinzhong is on the top step of the podium. Anouk Joubert has just made history with her 4th World Cup win in a row. Can she make it 5? We'll find out in just a few days' time in Xiamen. We'll see you then.